Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Hello, hello. And we are back into our winter office, fall office, whatever you want to say. You know how it is. It gets chilly out there. My hands are completely frozen. And it's in the 50s this morning. We had 30s yesterday. I wasn't happy about that because I played pickleball in that yesterday. Just letting you know. Sometimes a girl does what she's got to do. Catherine and Doris, Jocelyn, Jane, all in the house. Very glad to see you on this Transformational Tip Tuesday. We got a few things going on, and I will, oh shoot, I forgot part of my stuff. Well, I'll give it to you tomorrow. But part of what I was going to talk about is this whole idea of ruminant thinking. And I jotted down some notes, and I was going to give you that as kind of a bonus today, but I'm going to bonus it up tomorrow. How's that? We'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit, just unpack it a little bit more. Anyway, that said, this week we are all about this journey of getting to a place of being unstuck. Because we've all been in a place, let's be honest, right? Pinkies up. We've all been in this place of just feeling stuck, stagnant, not moving forward, maybe even falling a little bit backwards and just feeling a little untethered is a good word too. And not grounded, not, in line and feeling like ourselves, feel a little disconnected from it all. You ever feel like that? I think a lot of people do. Because it happens to me on occasion. And, it's just really imperative that you get into a different mindset about that. And we're going to talk about it today. We're going to be talking about that because we're going to talk about the why of being stuck and the science of unsticking. You like that? I hope so. I do. That's why we're going to be talking about it. Hi there, Anne. I'm glad you're here. So we're talking about that. You saw and it's funny, Jenny puts our quote of the week out. I mean, she's got a whole spreadsheet, Jenny, the spreadsheet queen, of all of our quotes. We find a special quote, something that we like, we keep it on Slack, and then we use these quotes as our quote of the week. I like quotes of the week because quotes of the week are sort of a guiding force, what we're thinking about and like what it is that we can do. And it's just, to me, is so interesting because I don't see the quote of the week until I come on Monday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the quote of the week. So Ron Everline said, just train the mind and the body will follow. Just train the mind and the body will follow. Well, that's exactly what getting unstuck is about, because our body chemistry changes when we get stuck, and that stuckness keeps us in a place where we don't want to be, obviously. And we can move from that by training our mind. We'll talk about that in great detail today and the rest of this week. And Wise Women's Wednesday is going to be a mind blower. So plan on being there. Also, we have our fall clearance. We're talking clearance. What do you see the prices on this stuff? We're talking half off. Go to savingdinner.com/show and stock up. And fair warning, if you see something and you want it, grab it and grab as many as you can, because this stuff is not staying in our shop anymore. It's going. We're clearing it out. It's not coming back. So just saying, get on that. And then the other thing, of course, you need to know about is our shipping that we do. And a lot of you have been taking really good advantage of the Sales Smart. And guess what you're doing? You're stocking up and your orders are over $300, and we're giving you your shipping for free. We do this because we want to say thank you. You take care of us, we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of that shipping for you. It's on us. That's our way of saying thank you. So anywhere you shop in our store, you go ahead and get that $300. We are going to handle it for you. savingdinner.com/show. And or shop rather. That's how to go shopping for our supplements and everything else. Savingdinner.com/show. That's where we house the clearance stuff. And then, of course, I already gave you all the stuff that you needed to know about the quote of the week. So I'm glad you're here. Let's get started on this because this is big stuff. You know, we're going to be unraveling the feelings of stuck a little bit. We are going to be unraveling that. We're talking about the causes, the science, and the success stories that come out of it, out of being stuck. Because every single person on the planet I know has been there. Hey, Deborah, glad you're here. It's that paralyzing feeling of, I can't move. I don't know what to do. I have no clue what the next thing is. And sometimes we think that every attempt that we make just drags us further into the muck of being stuck. Hi, Martha. I'm glad you're here. So why do we feel stuck, though? We have to ask ourselves this question, like, why now? What's happening here? What's going on? I had to ask myself this question because this was part of the things that I came out of. And, you know, we always want to know a root cause, don't we? So we ask ourselves, so what's the root cause of all this? Is it an amalgamation of a bunch of different stuff? Or is it just one possible thing? Or what's the deal? Hey, Alice. That's the whole thing. But we're going to look at kind of 4 root cause type of scenarios that might be the reason behind this feeling of stuck. Okay. The first one is ruminative thinking. This is, you know, when we're thinking those same sorry thoughts over and over again. Now, there's a big difference between being a ruminative thinker versus being somebody who's a worrier. A worrier is somebody who's mostly worrying about the future, whereas a ruminative thinker is somebody who's rolling around in the past. I always say rolling around in the past because I think about, you know, you think about a pig in mud, think about a dog rolling. My dog, when he was a baby, when he was a puppy, he used to love to roll around on top of the goose poop. That did not make me happy down at the berm on the lake. Didn't make me happy. But that is exactly what happens to us when we get into this negative loop. It's just getting ourselves dirty over and over and over again, because what does that do but pulls us down? It's a constant replay in our mind's eye of regrets, what ifs, future anxieties even, and it prevents us from living right here in the present, and it keeps us in the past. And the past doesn't help us out. The past isn't giving us any information to go forward, unless we're using the experience file. And you know about that, where you extrapolate the lesson from what it is that happened to you and use that as a tool for future building. That's a completely different story. But going back and reliving and rethinking all of this, remember, your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain doesn't know the difference whether or not it's happening or whether or not you're just thinking about it all over again. And so your body chemistry adjusts accordingly as if it's still happening. And this is why we get depressed, get anxious, worry, ruminate, all of the above. This is how it all gets mixed into one big mess of emotional dumpiness, where we just feel like garbage, right? But the second part of this is that fear of the unknown. This is where your amygdala goes into overdrive. You know why? Change is intimidating. Change is unknown. Change is different. And this innate fear that we have of uncertainty, well, that keeps us clinging to the known, even if the known is rotten for us, horrible for us, we hate it, we complain about it. The known is at least something that's comfortable, even in its uncomfortableness. Does that make sense? You think about it. You think about, like abuse victims who keep going back to their abusers, you know? It's what they know. And breaking that pattern and that, going back to that same situation is a real that's how you get unstuck. It's making a decision that breaks that down and says, no, I'm not going to do this, even with all this uncertainty ahead. I want something different. And then there's the overwhelm factor, because in the face of numerous tasks or a significant challenge, we feel the weight of everything simultaneously. And it's that where, it feels like it's piling on all this emotional stuff, the list of things to do, the what are people going to think, that we start to pull in a lot of stuff, not just the ruminant thinking, but a lot of stuff. And then the fourth one, I think, is a big deal, because the fourth one is one of the things that we are on a quest to if we are trying to vibrantly live our lives in full bloom. And that is finding a purpose. If you feel purpose, you feel rudderless. And if you don't have a rudder, you're just aimlessly floating out to sea. Nothing to steer the ship, nothing to guide you. A purpose gives us that. And without that clear direction, without that purpose, we feel like we are adrift, without an anchor, without a rudder, without anything. We're at the whim of the weather, whatever. And it is a real discombobulating. And so those can all be the root causes of what causes this feeling of stuck. But there's a way that we can, these are all part of the these are not the root causes. These are just the different factors that come in. But there's a way that we can uncover what the root cause of all of this is. Did I mention journaling? I talked about that yesterday, right? I talked about that yesterday because to me, what it is that when we're in this place of stuck and overwhelm and all this other stuff, it's because we haven't had a time, an opportunity to really sort. It's like letting the laundry get out of hand, right? And the answer to that is not just stuffing everything into the machine, but it's kind of sorting it. And we have the opportunity, it's sorting it for sure, because we don't like our black socks with the white towels, do we? And we have to sort. We can't just stuff it into the machine. Well, our head is like that machine. And what I'm saying to you is, instead of stuffing it, let's pull it out and start sorting it. Well, here we go. Here's some stuff of to-dos that I feel like I just haven't gotten around to. Here's some stuff that I really like to have happen. Oh, here's some goals. I forgot about these goals. I want to get those worked in. And what about my relationship? And what about my this? And what about my that? What about my job? What about, and there's a list. When we can write that stuff out, we are literally, from our hand, the pincher, doing this and doing this writing, it connects our brain to the material that we're writing about. And you know why that is so important? Because then it makes us feel connected to what it is that we're writing about, and we have more of a chance of sorting through it and getting past it, because we are acknowledging this is what's going on, and this is my way of trying to sort it all out. It's that simple. And when we do this, we're centering ourselves, and we're allowing ourselves to observe what's going on inside, and seeing our emotions and our thought processes without putting any judgment on it. Because we put the judgment on it in our head. We don't. Maybe we'll stumble and say something out loud, but we don't. If we're writing it down, we don't have to. That is not a commandment. That's not part of it. The only things that we need to do, and this is where you have to get really analytical about the whole thing, is just barf it all up, put it on paper. And I strongly suggest you use a pencil with an eraser or whatever turns you on, and a cheap Dollar General type of a journal, and just get it done. I'm going to tell you something. If you haven't done this yet and you go, oh God, there she goes again with that darn journal thing, you're just missing out. It's like the cheapest, easiest therapy on the planet. And this helps you to have the mindful reflection that you want, that you can't have yet because there's too much stuff in here. You know, we got to unpack that. You can't put too much. If you put too much wash in your dryer, what happens? Or too much wash in your washing machine, what happens? It doesn't get clean. And it's all packed in. It doesn't work that way. It's how your brain is too. Got to let it get out of there. There was a study published in PubMed by Davidson and others. And it says that mindful practices can increase self-awareness, helping people identify the root causes for various emotional states, including feeling stuck. This is why this mindful practice is so important. This is why writing is so therapeutic. And when we do this, and then we get into the habit of not just dumping all this stuff in, but just daily, just writing some stuff down, daily writing down our wins, daily writing down our I am statements about our goals. Remember that? We see the whole thing shift. We see our whole lives shift and change. It is extraordinarily powerful. And I know it's not something really, fun and sexy and all of the rest, but it works. And much like how a food journal works so that you can identify patterns of foods that might not be working for you, you can do the same thing with your journal. And you can see, oh my goodness, look at this. It seems always around the same time of, the year that I start feeling this certain way. I wonder what's up with that. What's going on? And then you can start digging a little bit and finding out there's something about that. I have a friend who used to live in Ohio, now lives in Florida. And she said, I never recognized how those gray skies just really got to me until I moved to Florida and I'm happy all the time. Well, there's that thing, with the light and everything and not having adequate amounts of light. You can buy light bulbs that will help with that. But it is a serious thing and it does cause depression. It works on the chemicals in your body. So, and of course, there's always cognitive behavioral therapy, incredible stuff. And there's books out on that. You can do it yourself. You can see a professional on it, but it helps because what that does is it gives us insight into our own psyche. And it helps us to see that there's something deeply entrenched inside of us, something that's connected to maybe something we don't even remember. And this helps to bring it out. So there's books, like I said, look on Amazon. There are counselors out there. There's all kinds of people do it. You can get the help that you need. So I love that. And by the way, there was a study by Butler that said that cognitive behavioral therapy is thought to be the most effective in addressing various emotional challenges, including feeling stuck. So there you go. Once again, more science to support what the heck is going to happen and help. And I mentioned earlier goal setting, but today let's unpack that a little bit. And if you're doing the goal setting, I've got several students in my goal setting class that are getting down on this, but we understand this absolutely 100% all the way. And that is this, that goal setting and doing small achievable goals act as stepping stones to get you to the place that you want. That leads us out of this quagmire of being stuck. That gets us to this place of saying, well, wait a minute, there is another way. There is something that I can do. I am not stuck. I am not a tree. I can move. There was another study, this is by Locke and Latham, and that demonstrated that clear, challenging goals can significantly enhance performance in various areas of life, helping us move past the things that keep us stuck. Goal setting. Who knew? Who knew? And you know how I do it with 12 weeks, I am statements, and making sure that they are the clarity of that statement helps to build a neural pathway in my brain every day because I write it out. Okay? The most simple, easiest way to get this happening in your life. I promise you. Again, simple, cheap, easy. So let's talk about a couple of inspiring stories because, I thought about that and I thought, yesterday I shared with you about Albert Einstein and how he would use his violin time and he'd oftentimes come up with some new ideas and some new things that he could do in order to move past what it was. But he always changed what he did, and usually that was the violin. And really, those are opposing sides of the brain. By the way, you got left brain, right brain. You've got the analytical versus the creativity. The music and all that. Just it resides in a different part of the brain than the mathematical part does. So what he's doing there is just basically giving exercise to another part of his brain while that part of his brain rests. And it's in rest, by the way, that everything happens. It's in rest when your muscle builds, not when you're, lifting weights, but when you're actually resting. Isn't that interesting? It's the same thing with your brain. Your brain needs a little bit of a rest. It's why we unpack it when we journal. It's why we give it an opportunity to breathe, like Albert Einstein said. But remember too that there was also, remember Steve Jobs? He got ousted out of Apple, right? Do you remember that? But after he did that, he felt like his life was on track. He didn't know what was next, and he actually purchased Next company and then Pixar, which my friend John Lasseter started. John Lasseter, of course, very famously wrote Toy Story. I went to high school with him. He was my girlfriend's boyfriend, and I knew him quite well. But you know what that did? So while he was out and thinking not very much of himself, all those two purchases changed him because he had to, of course, they were in kind of in the tech world, but it also gave him a different advantage point for when he finally came back to Apple, and it significantly changed the way that he did life and the way he was a CEO and his creativity. The iPhone was launched just right after he came back. Think about all the things that happened. Also think about J.K. Rowling. Remember J.K. Rowling very famously wrote the Harry Potter stories, but she had so many professional and personal drawbacks as well. And, she felt like she'd hit rock bottom. She had a yellow pad that she started writing the Harry Potter stories on it. But, she had these incredible feelings of despair, and she channeled that into her characters. And these are why her characters were so palpable and such rich character development that she had made. It came from her own soul. So you want to say that transformed her life just a little bit? That's the whole point, is that it's in our places of being stuck. It's in our places of feeling like nothing's going right. I can't do this. It isn't uncommon. It's very common. And we all at some point experience this. And it's not the end of the world. When we can start understanding the root causes and starting to leverage some of these science-backed findings and tools, then we can draw inspiration from these stories like J.K. Rowling. We can look at how they took their place of stuck and just made one small decision to do something and look at it. It wasn't, I'm going to get unstuck, so I'm going to do this. It was channeling all that emotional despair that she had into characters. It was Steve Jobs saying, okay, so I'm not over at Apple anymore, but I've got these two companies now, and I'm going to think about what it is that's going on there before I try to get back into Apple's seat. And it was Albert Einstein who's sitting there, working on one of the greatest minds of our time, who said, you know what, I just need to step away for a minute and pick up that violin. We can all do this. We can all make these kind of decisions, because I want to say this, and it's hard to say, but it's the truth. Every moment of feeling stuck is a precursor to potential growth. Witness these folks, these famous folks. Witness somebody in your life that you know about. And probably you've been there before yourself, made a different decision, and experienced becoming unstuck. Weeping may last for the night, but joy cometh in the morning, says the psalmist. And it's true when it comes to being stuck as well. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was helpful for you. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit about more of being stuck and getting yourself unstuck. We're also going to be talking a little bit about this mindset pattern of rumination. We can break that habit, I promise you. If you've missed any of the announcements, go check it out at savingdinner.com/announcements. And remember that our clearance sale is a real, honest to God clearance sale. Once these products are gone, they are not coming back. So grab them as much as you can, and we will send them to you. And like I said, when they're gone, they're gone. savingdinner.com/show. Hey, Sue. I appreciate you all. I will see you tomorrow. Pinkies up, and peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.